We see this exponential rise of anti-Semitism throughout America and throughout Western societies as Israel tries to defend itself against genocidal terrorists who hide behind civilians. Yet it is Israel that is falsely accused of genocide, Israel that is falsely accused of starvation and all sundry war crimes. It's all one big libel, but that's not new. We've seen in history that anti-Semitic attacks were always preceded by vilification and slander, lies that were cast against the Jewish people that are unbelievable, yet people believed them. And what is important now is for all of us who are interested and cherish our values and our civilization, to stand up together and to say enough is enough. We have to stop anti-Semitism because anti-Semitism is the canary in the coal mine. It always precedes larger conflagrations that engulf the entire world. So I ask all of you, Jews and non-Jews alike, who are concerned with our common future and our common values, to do one thing: stand up, speak up, be counted. Stop anti-Semitism now.
Parents need to understand what's happening at the Ivies, what's happening at some of these elite schools. They're training your kids to really hate America. And you've got to get more involved, because we're going to lose our country. Because we're going to lose our country. Because we're going to lose our country if we don't have a system where you actually get to debate rationally and come to some sort of an agreement through calm debate, listening. That's all gone on our college campuses, and I can't believe it. The Ivy League universities should be at the forefront of presenting all ideas and challenging kids to think differently and to think about all sides of an issue.
This is why they are strong-arming the protesters.
NBC News. Campus protests live updates. Supporters of UCLA arrestees applaud as students are released from jail. President Joe Biden condemned the protests, saying order must prevail amid mass arrests on the UCLA campus. May 2nd, 2024/9:31 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, UCLA campus. Over 2,100 arrests at school protests nationwide. So far, there have been at least 2,138 arrests at college protests across the country, according to an NBC News tally. The arrests came from at least 60 colleges and institutions participating in protests and encampments in solidarity with the Palestinian cause and calling for their schools to divest from Israel. Some of the latest numbers include 12 arrested at the University of New Hampshire last night, 10 students and 2 who are not affiliated with the university, all charged with disorderly conduct and trespassing. For arrested at Yale last night, 2 students and 2 non-students, charged with criminal trespass and disorderly conduct. 29 arrested at Stony Brook University shortly after midnight, 22 students, 2 faculty members, and 5 others for violating various laws.
Political protests continue at dozens of college campuses across America.
A massive protest camp at UCLA is clear, but after hundreds of police officers stepped in this morning, our sister station in LA is live right now. Let's listen in on their coverage.
We just got some numbers in from the California Highway Patrol, and while they are preliminary, they give you an idea. 132 people were detained altogether, although police tell me at one point they thought they had about 1,000 protesters inside this encampment and in the surrounding areas, but it is believed many of them dispersed all by themselves. Now, certainly some tense moments. Take a look. This encampment was very well fortified with wooden planks, wooden boards, plywood, metal, doors, tables. Yesterday, we watched as students actually used nails and hammers and drills to put together that plywood to create sort of a little mini fortress here between Powell Library and Royce Hall. That was the biggest challenge for police originally, was dismantling that wall that surrounded the encampment, and they did it with their bare hands, taking down that wood, the metal, anything and everything. There were a couple of tense moments. We saw protesters throwing umbrellas, throwing bottles filled with some type of liquid at police. They were also using very strong flashlights and strobe lights to shine into the police officers' eyes, but they just continued their work. They eventually circled all of the protesters, taking them into custody one by one. Once they were circled and once they were in custody, they did not resist arrest. They went fairly peacefully. There were some tug of wars as police would grab a protester to take them into custody, and other protesters would grab that person by their legs and sort of tug at them. But in the end, 132 at least have been taken into custody. So the big question is, what happens now? We understand the majority of them will be cited and released unless they're accused of something much more serious. In that case, they may be detained. So basically, they get what's akin to a ticket, no monetary value attached to it, but it is a citation. It'll have a court date on it. They'll appear in court, and that's when they'll learn if they're going to be charged. And of course, that's another big question in all of this. What is the Los Angeles County District Attorney going to do with the over 100 people that were detained? Will he simply choose to not file any charges against them, or will he file something? That remains to be seen. And that is the latest. Once again, if you're just joining
to our sister station in Los Angeles as they cover the end of the protests and the pro-Palestinian encampment on campus at UCLA.
I think that the point about the university there is so crucial, by the way, and it's interesting actually, just in terms of right-wing narratives about free speech and cancel culture and how actually you can see what's actually going on and colliding with reality. But before I ask you just more about that, I mean, just in terms of this question of, because this is, you know, the message being broadcast to the world is at Columbia University, Jewish students are no longer safe. They can't appear on campus and they're threatened and menaced. So I'm just interested what you would say to, I mean, as a Jewish faculty member, obviously, I mean, when people say that this is now a hotbed of anti-Semitism and that's what this protest is and encampment's really all about, and it's a threat to Jewish safety.
Yeah, I wish they would come on campus and see, except for that the university has off and on been allowing press even on campus. Campus is now sort of closed off, so only affiliates with IDs can typically swipe in. They've let in press sometimes they don't let let press in, and that just sort of foments this narrative. I can say, as a Jewish faculty member, I'm happy to walk on campus, and I do it multiple times a day. I would say also that Jewish students are many of those who are being arrested. I mean, some of the student, leaders of this movement are Jewish students. Many of the students in the encampment are Jewish, are Jewish students, and again, students from a variety of other groups. So this idea is just frankly not true. Now, it is the case that I would say two things. First, there are protests happening outside the university, along the sidewalk, along the kind of two avenues.
So this is what the scripture says. 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verses 16 to 19. For there shall be sedition, that is provoking to rebellion, among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. You see, they're going to be able to do their protests and many other things as we advance towards the end. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, and that is when you disobey the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High, separate yourself from him. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, that is, weapons of war, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. And there's a multitude of movies out here about a despotin society. You have that recent one called Fallout, but you also have, we could take a look back at the book of Eli. That involves our people. Denzel Washington represented our people, the Israelites, in that movie. So why? Why is all of this happening? It is for the controversy of Yisrael. Now this is Ezra, and his name is Esdras in the English translation of the Greek. He's speaking to one of the angels of the Lord. In 2nd Ezra chapter 15, this is the prophecy is certain. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people, not the Gentiles, but of the 12 tribes of Israel, the words of prophecy, which we're doing today, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Speaking of the words that the Most High was going to put in Ezra's mouth, the words of prophecy. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity, that is the unbelief of them, trouble thee, that speak against thee. And we have a lot of our people that don't believe what the Israelite prophets are telling them. And they're speaking against us and they don't believe what we're saying. We're trying to direct them back to the hearts of the fathers, but they are refusing to do so. To return unto the Lord and bid them to the marriage, but they are refusing to do so. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, weapons of war, famine, death, and destruction. Look what happened after the eclipse on 4/8/2024. You had Texas with all those storms and tornadoes, and they're still going on. Presently, they're having a lot of flooding. You had a lot of tornadoes across that whole, what they call the Bible Belt. Okay, the Bible Belt. And they don't even know what they really meant by that. They don't know the deeper meaning of that. This is verse 6. For wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. They are completed. This is when the judgment is going to come. And we're moving on to that. We're advancing towards that end. Therefore saith the Lord Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. Now, everything in purple, if you don't know, is talking about the Israelites. The underline is talking about the Most High. And therefore saith the Lord, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. And talked about among the Gentiles because we were scattered among the Gentiles. And we're going to be taken from among the Gentiles. We're going to be redeemed from among the Gentiles. We're going to be saved from among the Gentiles. Verse 10, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. You see, they provide multiple levels of sin. And we don't have to commit it, but too many of us are being sucked into it and commit those sins and end up having to face the judgment of the Lord. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, that is spiritual Egypt, which is also known as the house of bondage. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm and smite Egypt, spiritual Egypt, with plagues as before. You see, this is the spiritual Egypt, the house of bondage after the first one we were in, and will destroy all the land thereof. Egypt, spiritual Egypt that is, shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. They, spiritual Egypt, that till the ground shall mourn, for their seeds shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful constellation. For example, the eclipse that happened on 4/8/2024. That was a fearful constellation. It finalized the X across Mystery Babylon, Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, the United Snakes of America. Verse 14. Woe or destruction to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword, that means weapons of war, and their destruction draweth nigh or draweth near. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords or weapons of war in their hands. And you saw the example of the opening clip with tear gas and the people fighting with whatever weapons they had, the sticks and whatever it is they had. They all prepared, gas masks, some of them. You see, the end is manifesting itself. We're going to take a more in-depth look further into 2 Ezra chapter 15. We're going to start at verse 19 all the way through the end of the chapter. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Remember, the Lord said a sword, famine. Verse 20, behold, saith the Most High, I will call together all the kings of the earth, that is, all of these Gentile leaders, to reverence me, which are from the rising of the sun from the east, from the south, from the east and Libanus, and turn themselves one against another, and repay the things that they have done. That's the reason why in the previous presentation I talked about World War I, World War II, and World War III. How the pride of these Gentiles is going to get them into World War III, because the First World War was fought by the Europeans, the Second World War was fought by the Europeans, and the Third World War will be fought by the Europeans to their destruction. Verse 21. Like as they do yet this day unto my chosen, the Israelites, talking about what these Gentiles are doing upon the Israelites. We are in total subjection to these people. So will I do also, and recompense in their bosom, thus saith the Lord power. My right hand shall not spare the sinners, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. You see, the sinners, 1 John 3 and 4, is when you transgress the law. Sin is the transgression of the law. Now, it's talking about our people, the Israelites. And that is going to further upon the world, which is upon the earth, which is the rest of the Gentiles. Because our people, when you're disobedient, you're a Gentile as well. Verse 23, the fire is gone forth from his wrath and hath consumed the foundations of the earth, and sinners like the straw that is kindled. Now we see all kinds of fires and pillars of smoke from volcanoes and wildfires all around the world. The fire is gone forth from his wrath and have consumed the foundations of the earth, and the sinners like the straw that is kindled. We see wildfires and pillars of smoke from volcanoes all around the earth. Verse 24, woe or destruction to them that sin and keep not my commandments, saith the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. Let's read that again. Woe or destruction to them that sin, you transgress the law, and keep not my commandments, saith the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. I will not spare them. Go your way, ye children, from the power. Defile not my sanctuary. He's talking to the Israelites here. For the Lord knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction. Verse 27. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. For the Most High shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him. See, that rapture doctrine of Christianity is a lie. It's going to be Jacob's trouble, and he shall be saved out of it. So there is going to be tribulation that everyone is going to go through. There's no pre-trib. Verse 28. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth. They're going to be moving fast, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Now that's talking about the Arabs. That's talking about the Ishmaelites. The dragons of Arabia are the Ishmaelites, and they're getting ready. Also, the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the wood, and with great power shall they come, and join battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the lands of the Assyrians. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand, remembering their nature, you see, and if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Then these shall be troubled bled, and keep silence through their power, and shall flee. And from the land of the Assyrians shall the enemy besiege them, and consume some of them, and in their host shall be fear and dread, and strife among their kings. Now, this Assyrian area is about Iraq, Iran area. Behold, the clouds from the east, or the multitude of armies from the east, and from the north, and from the south, and they are very horrible to look upon, full of wrath and storm. And they're going to come with all of their weapons, all of their technology, all of their hidden weapons that they have just sitting in wait to be used. Verse 35, they shall smite one upon another, and they shall smite down a great multitude of stars upon the earth, even their own star. And blood shall be from the sword unto the belly, and dung of men unto the camel's hoof. Now, that star we're talking about, the multitude of stars, is the satellites, is all talking about nuclear weapons. Okay, there's going to be a multitude of weaponry going off, a lot of missiles going off. 37. And there shall be great fearfulness and trembling upon the earth. Why? Because of those missiles shaking and rocking the earth. And they that see the wrath shall be afraid, and trembling shall come upon them. And then shall there come great storms from the south, and from the north, and another part from the west. Now, when you see east storm in the scriptures, it's always speaking of destruction. Now, what we're saying is that the storms will come from every direction. Verse 39, and strong winds shall arise from the east and shall open it, and the cloud which he raised up in wrath, and the star stirred to cause fear toward the east and west wind shall be destroyed. Those winds are talking about the armies. Verse 40, the great and mighty clouds, and that's also a similar to for armies, mighty clouds, shall be puffed up full of wrath, and the star that they may make all the earth afraid. Talking about those bombs, those missiles, nuclear missiles, and them that dwell therein, and they shall pour out over every high and eminent place and horrible star. You see, so it's talking about multiple nations using multiple missiles. Fire and hail and flying swords, those missiles, and many waters, that all fields may be full, and all rivers with the abundance of great waters. Mean there's going to be a displacement. Okay, there's going to be movement of water based upon these bombs going off. And they shall break down the cities and walls, mountains and hills, trees of the wood, and grass of the meadows, and their corn, their own food. Corn is representative of food. And they shall go steadfastly unto Babylon and make her afraid. So the war is coming to Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, Mystery Babylon, the United Snakes of America. And it's going to make them afraid. They shall come to her and besiege her. So this country is prophesied to be taken over. The star and all wrath shall they pour out upon her. You see, bombs are going to come on this country, which has never happened before. Then shall the dust and smoke go up unto the heaven. So that's a hell of a lot across this country. And all they that be about her shall bewail her. Those that are round about looking. Those that cause that to happen are going to be looking and bewail her. And they that remain under her shall do service unto them that have put fear in her. And thou, Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, that's probably most likely speaking of China, because they're trying to imitate every single thing that the European Edomites have done in colonization around the world, and art the glory of her person. How is it that China is the glory of Babylon's person? Because the United Snakes of America transferred its manufacturing over there and built up their economies. Now they become a world power. And they're trying to unseat this country. Verse 47, woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her. See, China's trying to make herself like unto the United States of America, the Edomites, and has decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. You see, to do business with America, the United States of America. Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore, saith the Most High. You see, this is obvious if you can see it. I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. And if you have not been watching what has been going on over there in China with the floods, with earthquakes, with typhoons, it is all kinds of destruction and the lack of birth of children. All of these things are occurring over there in that country and also around the world. And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower. The heat shall arise that is sent over thee, heat from those missiles. Thou shalt be weakened as a poor woman with stripes, and as one chastised with wounds, so that the mighty and lovers shall not be able to receive thee. What I with jealousy have so proceeded against thee, saith the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai. If thou hadst not always slain my chosen, exalting the stroke of thine hands, and saying over their dead when thou wast drunken, this is what y'all said, set forth the beauty of thy countenance. The reward of thy whoredom shall be in thy bosom. Therefore shalt thou receive recompense or repayment, the big payback. Like as thou hast done unto my chosen, saith the Lord, even so shall the Most High do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief or into evil. Thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword, through weapons of war. Thy city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field. What field is that? In the field of combat. They that be in the mountains shall die of hunger. You see, because Esau likes to be in those mountains to try to hide away and eat their own flesh. They've been doing this for many years anyway, living up in the mountains alone, or when they have crashes, they eat the dead's flesh and drink their own blood for very hunger of bread and thirst of water. Thou, as unhappy, shall come through the sea and receive plagues again. And in the passage they shall rush on the idol city, and shall destroy some portion of thy land, and consume part of thy glory, and shall return to Babylon that was destroyed. And thou shalt be cast down by them as stubble, and they shall be unto thee as fire, and shall consume thee and thy cities, thy land and thy mountains, all thy woods and thy fruitful trees shall they burn up with fire. Thy children shall they carry away captive, and look what thou hast. They shall spoil it and mar the beauty of thy face. You see, it's going to be a lot of destruction. The protests or uprisings of the people all around the world is fulfillment of prophecy. The strong-arm tactics to suppress freedom of speech, ridiculous claims of anti-Semitism, or any other actions or opinion or facts that go against the narrative that Edomites are pushing or forcing upon the world are also fulfillment of prophecy. Let's take a look. And lastly, Revelation chapter 12 and 12. This is why this is happening. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, those in positions of leadership, and ye that dwell in them. Woe or destruction to the inhabitants, that is, those residing on the earth, and of the sea, the people or tribes of the earth. For the devil, the deceiver, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. That is why they are strong arming the protesters.